Hi, this is Vicki with Learning Home Volunteers, and welcome to our new learning session entitled Let Me Count the Ways. This session is entirely devoted to the many different numeracy skills that your child is learning right now. The first one, really about learning about numbers, is actually counting. And you probably see your child do this all the time. Every time they see something that they like, they count them. The next skill that they'll actually probably develop is understanding what print numbers look like. And then that's followed by bigger, smaller, making a group of objects larger by adding them, or making the objects set of objects smaller by subtracting, and then grouping objects in different group sizes. Whew. Oh my, but that's not all they're learning. Wait, there's actually more. They're actually measuring how fast, how long, how much money, how much flour, or salt, or milk to add to a recipe. And they're doing it absolutely everywhere, at the store, in the house, in the playground, on the road. It's actually pretty amazing. There's been a lot of research done on how children learn about numbers and math. And researchers found that actually most of the foundational knowledge actually comes from parents like you. In fact, when it comes to foundational skills, learning from parents and by handling objects is the best way for them to learn. So, in this session, we're going to do just that. We, of course, are going to make it fun so that numbers will be your child's favorite thing. You ready to get started? Well, to put us in the mood, obviously, we've chosen a number of books to help us get there. The first book is Pete the Cat and His Woes with the Buttons on His Shirts. This book is a sneaky way to introduce subtraction. In our next book, Inch by Inch, it's about an inchworm who manages to escape being eaten by using his special ability to measure. In our last book, Click, Clack, Splish, Splash, has some farm animals working on a mission to reduce, yes, that's subtraction, the fish in the owner's aquarium. Don't worry, no fish were harmed. This is activity number 1, and it's our first activity we're going to use your Unifix cubes with from your teacher's kit. And we're going to challenge our little learners to build a city with buildings of a certain height. The print page, Build a City, has 2 rows of squares. The top set is going to be where the child builds the building, and the bottom set is where you're going to tell the child how tall that building should be. In this example, we're using print numbers, but if your child is not recognizing print numbers, put the dots in the square for the height. For example, if your first building is going to be 5 high, you could put 5 dots in the square. Look how cool the skyline is going to be when they're done. This is activity number 2, and we're going to actually use cards to help us learn more about numbers. A deck of cards has 4 suits, and for each suit, the cards are a ace, which represents the number 1, and then number cards 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then finally the face cards, Jack, Queen, and King. Before we get started, you want to choose a suit of cards to work with because we only need 1 for this set, and then remove the ace, the king, the queen, and the jack. So I chose hearts, and I removed the ace and the face card, and this is what I've got, numbers 2 through 10. So let's start with a matching task. First, have them count the hearts in the middle, 1, 2, 3, and then using your tokens, ask the child to put the same number of tokens to match the number of hearts in the middle, 1, 2, 3. And then have them check their work, recounting the hearts in the middle and the counters, and they should come up with the same number. Are they the same? Well, great job on your first matching task. Our next job is to help them learn the concept of same or equal, more or less. So again, using the number cards, let's start with them this time face down. And then we want to turn over a single card. In my case, it's a number 5. Then I turn over another card and put it right next to it. In this case, a 3. And then the idea is to try to figure out which of these cards is either bigger or smaller. In my case, I'm going to choose smaller. And then have the child remove that card. So the 5 is bigger than the 3, so I remove the 3. And I was left with a 5 card. So let's turn over another card. It has 6 hearts. And so 6 is bigger than 5. So I remove the 5 card. And you can work on this by either working on smaller or bigger, but obviously we haven't been able to work on the same. To be able to do that, we need 2 suits of just number cards. So if I picked up from our last play where I had the removed the 5, I was left with a 6. When I turn over the next card, I see a black 6. And you can see that now I have the red black 6, and I count them, there's 6 there. When I have the black 6, they're equal. And when you find a set that matches, you'll basically remove both cards and you're continue on with the play. Our next activity is activity number 3, making a pattern. And we want to be able to recognize a pattern and then make it. In this case, I'm making a simple pattern just using 2 colors of the Unifix cubes. And it needs to be repeating in the set. So this one is called an AB pattern because it only uses 2 items. And the A one comes first, and then the B one, and then it repeats. So in my case, I chose A for blue, or blue for A, and yellow for boo for B. And then I end up with a pattern that's blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow. Now, once they can actually match the pattern and kind of recognize it, you want to change the orientation. And in this example, I changed it to vertical. As it turns out, children's brains don't see this necessarily as the same pattern. So changing the orientation helps them kind of figure that out. Now you can make patterns much more complicated by adding more components to the pattern. So here on the color card one is a pattern that involves 3 elements. So it's red, blue, and yellow, red, blue, and yellow, and red, blue. What should the next one be, right? Yellow. But you know, it doesn't always have to be done with color. It could be done with letters like we're seeing here, or even shapes. So when they're able to replicate a pattern, you can begin to ask them the next item in the sequence. So in this pattern, it starts off with a triangle followed by 2 circles, and then the pattern begins to repeat a triangle and then a circle. So what is the missing object? Well, it's a circle. So what's the big deal about patterns? You know, being able to recognize a pattern that you've seen actually is used all the time in learning. In fact, you know, if you think about it, when we're doing reading in English, we see these 2 letters SHOW. I know from the patterns that I've learned that SH, when they're together, always makes the sound sh. And this allows me as a reader to put together the 3 sound pieces that I have there to sound this word out. I know that SH makes the sh sound, and then O, and then W for W. So sh, O, show, O. And you can see how you can make a word with that. This is activity number 4, hide and count. This is a really fun game where you basically guess how many Unifix cubes are under the cup. The easiest way to say is that I can only fit 3 cubes under the cup. 1 cube, 2 cubes, 3 cubes, depends on how big your cup up. So the interesting thing is that when we close our eyes and put them under the cup, and then I show it up to an adult, they can very quickly see what the numbers are. So we ask them to guess whether they think I've got 1 cube or 2 cubes or 3 cubes, and then we do the review and they guess, see if they're right. Well, that's all for this week. Next week, more fun.